Yes, me too. Thank you, everyone. And so what we're going to do now is start with 6 of our amazing authors, moderated by Penny Manson. And so if everyone would please mute themselves and turn off your video, we will spotlight Baron, Robin, Audrey, Yasmin, Linda, and Lynn, and Penny.
Okay, and while we are moving around and getting the correct people spotlighted, and
John Rosca is up here.
easing out the other people, let me just say real quickly, in the spirit of a little competition, okay, because I'm fearing that we're not going to have time for a tiebreaker, so I sent the authors a speed intro, 5 quick questions. And we're just going to start with the East Coast. Since I'm from the West Coast, it seems only fair to let the East Coast jump first. So we'll start with Yasmin, Linda, and Lynn. And you will just answer the 5 quick intro questions, and I will time you, and I will put the time when you stop at the end of your 5th question, the timer, and then I'll say next will be so we start with Yasmin, the next will be Linda, and I'll put the time down. And at the end, I'll tally up the time. And the team, if we need a tiebreaker, the team that did their speed intros in the least amount of time will get an additional point to break the tie. Okay? All righty. So I see, let's see, I only see myself and 4 people. Oh, I see they're at the top. Okay. All right. All right. So we're going to start with the speed intro, starting first with Yasmin. Oh, doggone it. I don't know why. Because they're chihuahuas. Stop. Stop. They're chihuahuas. You know, if a tree falls in the forest 500 miles away, a chihuahua will bark at it. Okay. So once you get started, I'll mute myself in case they must bark. But we're going to start with Yasmin.
Wait. Once we get started, you mean I just have to go off the cuff? I thought I was being asked the questions and then just answer real quick. That's not how
Right?
Well, okay. All righty. So, fine. I can do it that way too. So, we're starting with Yasmin. And when I start it, I'll ask you the first question. Okay. All right.
Okay.
You ready, Yasmin?
I think so.
Okay. Where were you born or spent most of your formative years?
Northern Virginia.
And that's also where you spent most of your formative years?
Yep.
Okay.
Why are you putting more time on the thing? Sorry.
Okay. Name a number of kids and our pets.
4 kids.
Okay. Name a books and our series.
The Nina Knight trilogy, Not What She Seems, and then Behind These 4 Walls.
Okay. Main characters.
Nina Knight and Jack Brody.
Okay. And primary setting / locale in your book.
Florida, South Carolina, and Virginia.
Okay. Boy, that was quick. All righty. Linda, you're up next. You ready?
Well, I sort of combined my answers.
Hey, you know, I was expecting you guys to just take it. So if you've got yours,
okay.
I'm just going to
I was born in Keokuk, Iowa, and lived there until I went to college. I've written 12 books. The last 4 are part of an HOA mystery series. HOA is Homeowner Association Mysteries, and they're set in the South Carolina Lowcountry, which is home to Hilton Head Island and countless more islands. Kylie Kane, my heroine, is a retired Coast Guard investigator who now works for a company that manages a dozen HOAs.
Got it. Okay. Lynn, let me reset. Are you ready, Lynn? Do you need me to ask or can you take it?
No, ask.
Ask. Okay. All right. So ready, Lynn? Here we go. Where were you born and or spent most of your formative years?
Greensboro, North Carolina.
Name a number of kids and or pets.
2 kids, Nina and Gary. Pets, Finn and Jingles.
Okay. Name a book and or series.
the Ava Logan series, Tell Me No Lies, Tell Me No Secrets, Tell Me You Love Me, Tell Me Where You Are, and Tell Me, yeah, I haven't titled the fifth one yet.
Okay. And your main characters?
Ava Logan, Emily Gale, Gypsy Moran. About it.
Primary setting / locale in your books.
Appalachian Mountains and the coast of North Carolina, and one Texas in there. I don't know where that one came from.
Okay. All righty. All righty. West Coast, you're up. I'm starting with Baron. Baron, do you want me to read them to you, or do you want to just take it and run?
Oh, sure. Fire away.
Okay. Where were you born and or spent most of your formative years?
Born in Southern California, Dana Point, and spent most of my formative years there and in Hawaii.
Name a number of kids and or pets.
2 grown daughters with children, and 2 wiener dogs and 1 cat.
Name of books and or series.
The series is the Sheriff Ty Dawson series. It's Longmire meets Yellowstone in the decade of the 1970s. Most recent is the Will Rogers Medallion winner, Knife River.
Main characters.
Sheriff Ty Dawson, a cattleman and now sheriff of a sprawling county.
Okay. And primary setting / locale in your books.
The Willamette Valley of Oregon in the 1970s.
Got it. Okay. Robin, do you want me to read, or do you want to
I
just
think
take
I
it?
can take this. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. So
go.
originally from Southern California, Orange County, Northern California
Hey,
transplant.
hey.
What?
Wait, what?
Was that hey for us? I'm going to pause it.
Sorry, my dog was barking. I'll turn off mute.
I'm like, wait a minute. No, I'm really from Southern California, you guys.
No, you're not. You're not. You're not. You're not. Now, wait a minute. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Go,
So I was
Robin.
born there, spent my younger years there, moved up to South San Francisco and back down to Southern California and back up to Northern California. So formative years kind of all over California. And I have 3 grown daughters, but anybody who follows me on Facebook knows I have 2 giant poodles, Poppy and Dash. And I have several series. The most recent series that I wrote on my own that were not co-written are the Sidney Fitzpatrick series, starting with Face of a Killer. And did I get it all?
Main character.
Oh, Sidney Fitzpatrick. I said that. Sidney
Okay.
Fitzpatrick series, right? Yeah.
Okay. And
Are we
the
good?
primary setting locale for your books.
I even said that.
Okay. All right. Then I'm
Sydney-
going to stop it.
Started off in San Francisco, but went worldwide.
Got it.
International thrillers. Okay.
International thrillers. I've got it. Okay. Audrey, last but not least, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Do you want me to ask you the questions, or do you want to just take them?
I think I got it, but don't quiz me after.
Okay, I won't. I won't. Okay. You ready? Go.
Okay. Other than a year I spent going to school in Taiwan, I am a California girl born in Fresno, then moved down to Southern California, and then came up here to go to school and have been here in Northern California ever since. I have 1 son who's abandoning me on Monday to go to college. He attends UC Irvine. And I have an 8-pound Maltipoo named Luna. My first book, my debut, is called The Mechanics of Memory. It was nominated for the Edgar Award and the Anthony Award, and I have a second book coming out on May 19th, also a thriller called Never to Be Told. The main character in my debut, her name's Hope Nakano, and both of these books, these first 2 books, although I've only been there once, take place in the Palm Springs area.
Got it. Okay. All righty. So there was, I think, for the opposite team, if you were paying attention, there may have been some clues in the quick intro that you can use when answering the questions. Okay, so I'll get rid of that. Oop. Stop. Bear with me, guys. I'm still playing with a splint, so sometimes things get in my way. We'll do the best. All right, so we're going to play the author setting game. Now, we all know that setting can be bigger than just locale. Today, we're going to pit 3 East Coast authors against 3 West Coast authors. For example, I'd ask the West Coast authors team, which East Coast authors series features an assassin as a main character? The team will just talk amongst themselves, lock in an answer, and then we'll ask the participants to put their guesses in the chat. And in this case, then I would say, who is it? And in this case, Yasmin Angoe would identify herself as the answer. If the West Coast team answered correctly, they would get a point. We're going to aim, and if they didn't, they don't get a point. We'll aim for 3 rounds, and the team with the highest score at the end of 3 rounds, or when the buzzer sounds, the buzzer is Rick telling me to shut up. When the buzzer sounds, signaling time up, team with the highest score wins. Okay, so we're going to start off with round 1, question 1 for the East Coast team. Okay. Which West Coast author has a series that is set in a luxury wellness detox spa located in a Palm Springs type location? Take a few seconds to chat and then give me an answer. You can guess because it's one of 3 people. I mean, come on.
I'm guessing Audrey.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say Audrey.
Okay, so is that your locked in response?
Sure.
Yeah, you're all with that. Okay, so you're all guessing it's Audrey. Participants who are watching, if you want to put who your guess is in the chat, feel free to do so. Just take a few seconds. And oh, yeah.
Karen said that very quickly, like she was ready. So thank you, Karen. She was itching. Her fingers were itching to put that in there.
Okay. West Coast authors, who is this author? It's Audrey. Okay. So, Audrey, your debut novel, Mechanics of Memories, takes place in a setting like Palm Springs, California. How would your character or your plot change if it was set in the East Coast in Palm Beach, Florida?
Okay, well, I've never been to Palm Beach, Florida, even though I have been to Florida. So I'm just going on what I know here. But my book is set in a fictional wellness facility, luxury detox facility surrounded by A-list celebrities. And so when I think about it, while I know there are celebrities who winter in Florida, this one takes place in the summertime. And you don't really picture this in a place like Florida. It has to be in, somewhere in Southern California with the old Hollywood vibe and where celebrities go to run away. Since it's a thriller, it relies on feeling kind of dark and sinister and claustrophobic, which being by the ocean would not work. It's part of the isolation of Palm Springs, the desert, the suffocating heat. So I think it wouldn't be the same if you set it in Florida.
Totally different story. Okay. Thank you, Audrey. Okay. For the West Coast team, what East Coast authors' multi-book characters are set all over the world, but mainly in Atlanta and small cities in South Carolina?
I'm going with Linda. Wait.
I would purely be guessing, I think.
Okay.
We're guessing as a team, right?
Right. You're working together as a team.
I'm gonna trust Robin and say
I'm going to go with Robin too.
Oh my God.
No pressure, Robin.
it's because of Robin.
It's all Robin. So I'm going to ask the audience, do you guys agree or disagree? Multi-book characters are set all over the world, but mainly Atlanta and small cities in South Carolina. Okay, so your guys are locking in with Robin. Which author has a series set in Atlanta and small cities in South Carolina? Which one of you West Coast authors is that?
East Coast.
I'm sorry. Which one of you East Coast authors is that?
Can I change my mind? Can I phone a friend?
Can you phone a friend? Oh, Dorothy. Dorothy is disagreeing. She's are you I think have homes in Coeur d'Alene. Okay. No. So this for this question. Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking Lynn now, you guys. Sorry, but
So which author is it?
Lynn. It's Lynn, right? It's Lynn.
You're
No.
it's not Lynn. It's not Linda. So that one leaves one other author. Yep.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry. I got confused because you said Atlanta and South Carolina.
That's the
When
verb I had, mainly Atlanta and small cities in South Carolina. Is that not correct?
Florida and South Carolina and Virginia. But okay, I thought,
Okay.
but I
Oh,
wasn't
whoops.
sure. Quiet. I was
Yeah.
quiet. Anyway, okay, sorry. Go ahead. Ask me.
So it is Yasmin. And okay, so Yasmin, all of this is happening in South Carolina and Atlanta, furthermost on the East Coast. Pick one of your characters because you have several. Because you have Nina, Jacinda, and Ade. You have these characters. Which one of your in what way would any one of your characters change if the setting was now on the West Coast, do you think?
Oh. I think if the setting was on the West Coast, then they would probably gosh, what would they change? Maybe they would change their hairstyle because here in the summer, it's not just hot, but it's soupy hot. And so maybe if they were on the West Coast, they could wear more like if they're people of color, if they're Black, which they probably would be, but they could have their hair out more and not worry about like, it like reverting to its natural state. So I'm gonna say hair. And yeah, I think that's it that I can think of.
Yeah. I think that's something that we don't think about a lot when we're looking at settings is the impact of the weather on your hair. Women naturally go there, but particularly for people of color, you don't want your hair going home, and starting to get all naturally curly and, a smoother style. And that would definitely be impacted by the weather of where you were. So absolutely. So
Well, I
that's a
guess
way.
it would be anyone like that had curly hair or whatever. If you go out in the morning, you need it to stay all day long, right? Because you got things to do. And so if it's in the summertime here in the South, well, good luck to you.
Yeah, because the days of sleeping on the orange juice cans. Now y'all too young for that. But I remember sleeping on the orange juice cans to try and straighten that stuff out. Okay, so we're going to round 2 for the East Coast team. Okay. Which West Coast author has a connection to the music industry and often writes soundtracks created for the work in progress? Do, 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 do,
I know.
do, 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 do.
Well, tell us, Lynn.
That's Baron. That's definitely Baron.
So is the rest of the team on board with that? Or because she's so confident.
Yeah.
Anybody in the audience want to guess someone other than Mr. Baron? I don't see any names popping up. So I will just ask, who could it possibly be? Oh, he looks like he's in a rock band. There you go. Yeah. Which one of the West Coast authors is it?
It's me. I
It
will
is.
cop to it.
Yep. I've got here Baron spent several years as a professional musician and founded an independent record label and management company. He also grew up on a horse ranch in Southern California and was senior class president in high school. You can ask him about that later when we get to it. So, Baron, you said in a recent interview, know your characters intimately and know your setting equally as well. Each element informs the other. How is that true for either Mike Travis or Ty Dawson?
Well, Mike Travis is a PI in contemporary times in Hawaii. Ty Dawson is a cattleman who has been conscripted to be county sheriff in a rural county in Oregon. These two guys are very, very different, although they are so location specific, I can't imagine transplanting either of them without completely upending the story.
Yeah.
Nor would I know what I was talking about because I'm a purely West Coast guy. I've never lived on the East Coast. Love the East Coast, but never lived there.
So you'd have to either get a ticket and travel or do the Google traveling, you know?
Well, yeah, I'd have to go live there for a while, I think.
Okay. All righty. So moving right along. For the West Coast team, since life often imitates art, what East Coast author swims and sails, and in fact, after she learned to sail at Club Med, this author bought a sailboat that's smaller than the one her heroine lives aboard. Okay, let me say it again. Since life often imitates art, what East Coast author swims and sails, and in fact, after she learned to sail at a Club Med, this author bought a sailboat that's smaller than the one her heroine lives aboard.
Well,
Just
So
shout
we
it
get
out.
to guess?
Yes. So
Okay.
it's
All right.
the West Coast team.
Lynn.
Yeah, I
think it's Lynn.
would guess Lynn as well.
Okay.
I'm not guessing. I'm voting.
You're voting that it's Lynn. Okay, so you and Robin say it's Lynn.
I'll go. I vote.
Audrey is going along with you. Anybody in the audience want to jump in and Carla says she disagrees. Okay.
All right.
So, all righty.
Cindy.
So, West Coast team, which one of you swims and sails?
East Coast.
Excuse me.
Oh, well,
2W.
We
Okay.
all do it on the West Coast. I mean, that's just a given.
That's just something we do, right? On the East Coast. Thank you, Linda. So on the East Coast, which one of you guys swims and sails? It's Linda.
You guys, I can't believe it. You listened to me 2 times in a row.
Following you, Robin, for no reason at all.
You just sound so confident. You just sound so confident. So Linda, you and your character, Marley Clark, both swim and sail. How would a setting change to the West Coast impact your plot options given your character's skill set?
Well, it's actually Kylie Kane, who's the heroine of my HOA mystery series. And she's a retired Coast Guard investigator who lives on a boat and a sailboat. And the HOAs, I'm not sure how they function in California, but on the East Coast, I lived in the Low Country for 12 years, and there are probably, I'm going to guess, 80 at least different homeowner associations, and each is like their own little government. And a lot of them have managers. So I thought a management company that looks at crime and what's happening in HOAs would be great in that location. But when I lived on Fripp Island, you could see Hilton Head Island and you could get there by boat in 5 minutes. By land, it would take an hour. So with all of the islands, I thought, geez, this would be great to have somebody that could sail and get to the islands as well as to go by car. And there are a couple of times when Kylie needs to swim in order to save the day, and she would risk hypothermia on the West Coast for some of her antics in December. I think that when it's still, the Atlantic Ocean is still warm with currents. So, and I don't think there are that many little estuaries and places where you could go from island to island on the West Coast as the East Coast. So it would be a lot different.
Right. So it would be a totally different book altogether.
Yeah.
It would have to be. Okay. Really
You know,
good.
Penny, can I just say,
Sure, Lynn.
Sharon and Robin and Audrey, thank y'all so much for your confidence, but I'm not as green as Linda's shirt when I even look at a boat, so.
So it definitely wasn't you.
No.
Seriously, it was not Lynn. Okay. All right. So this is moving right nicely. Okay, so round 3 for the East Coast team. Which West Coast author has a series where her character can see the traffic from the Bay Bridge? No, see the traffic on the Bay Bridge from their office. Which West Coast author has a series where her character can see the traffic on the Bay Bridge from their office? All right, East Coast
Robin.
team.
Robin, process of elimination. Robin.
That's what I was thinking too.
Oh my gosh, even the participants are going, Robin, Robin, Robin. Okay, so which one of you guys could it possibly be?
Mm.
Is it Dash and Poppy's mom?
It could be. It could be.
Okay. Yeah, and the her was a hint, how the questions are written. So I believe it is the one, the only Robin Burcell, right? Am I correct?
You are correct. You guys are
Okay.
brilliant, brilliant, I'm telling you.
Well, it wasn't a matter of making it difficult for you guys. I wanted to make it as easy as possible. So Robin, in your Kate Gillespie books, she can see the traffic from the Bay Bridge, on the Bay Bridge in her office. How would your story change if it was set on the East Coast and your character was looking at the Brooklyn Bridge? Oh my goodness, somebody just put a picture of the orange juice cans in the chat. And your character was looking at the Brooklyn Bridge in New York City. How would those Kate Gillespie stories change?
Well, for one, San Francisco PD is contained in San Francisco. And what you see, if you once you cross that bridge, you are in a different county, different jurisdiction, so other police would handle things there. In Brooklyn, if you're looking across the Brooklyn Bridge, you're still looking into New York City, technically. And so the main character, if it was Sydney working for NYPD, she would have jurisdiction and everything on the other side of that river because it's still New York. And then, of course, it snows there, and everybody knows that you can't do anything in the snow, right? Because as soon as it rains in California, people freak out, and you have all the car accidents and everything else because, the street got wet. And, that wouldn't happen in New York either. So those car chases are probably, a lot more dangerous in rainy San Francisco than in snowy New York.
I think that again we're talking weather, and it does seem as if on the West Coast in particular, the minute there's a raindrop, people forget everything they ever knew about driving in wet weather. And I don't know if it's because stopping in the rain versus stopping in the snow, the people on the East Coast have had to be more cautious, slamming on those brakes. And I don't get the sense, and correct me, East Coasters, if I'm wrong, I don't get the sense that at the sight of the first snowflake, people forget everything they ever knew about driving in that kind of weather. Is that an
Yes, they
accurate?
do in the South. They have not seen snow. They have no idea how to drive in snow. And if they even have a threat of a snowstorm, they close the schools.
And
So,
all
yep,
the grocery stores are cleaned out.
yep.
And then there's no snow the next day.
Yeah.
That's how it
But they've
works.
already closed the schools, right?
Yep.
So you
Well,
get,
Yeah, I was just going to say the weather, you can really use the weather as setting in your book, and it can really change things. And especially if you need to slow a character down or speed a scene up, you can just throw some weather in there and all of a sudden, oh no, I can't get to where I need to go, kind of a thing, be it snow or rain or
and your
fog.
character, if your character has recently relocated from another coast where there was no snow, and now you're trying to do a chase in the snow, that would make for a totally different feel than somebody who grew up around snow and
Right.
was very comfortable driving in it. Absolutely.
Right.
So that setting would definitely have an impact on on your character and how the story flowed. Okay. So, okay. Now I'm just going to go back real quickly because let's see. The first one, which was Audrey, no point. The second one, which was Yasmin, no point. And then the next round, which was Baron, they got a point. Linda, everybody guessed Lim, so no point. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3. I just don't want to shortchange anybody a point if they've got one coming. Oh, and while I'm doing this real quickly in my head, I noticed that how Robin changed her characters, changed her story and what the story looked like, moving it from the Bay Bridge to the Brooklyn Bridge. I found it really interesting as a former law enforcement person. She immediately went to the law, what the county is, and that's another area, that's another aspect of setting, which I think a lot of times gets overlooked. You can say, the rules here in this county are XYZ. The rules in 2 counties over or in the next state are different. So if you move it, then that has to
or
change.
boroughs or parishes or
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
And that changes too, depending on where you are, because we're just counties here in California. But other states, many other states actually have different names for those larger than an immediate city type jurisdiction.
Okay. Well, I think that I asked all of my questions. For some reason, it was Lynn.
I think East
Oh,
Coast
no,
won though.
wait a minute. No, wait. Okay. So I've got one more question because I didn't. Okay. So, West Coast team. Which East Coast author writes books which bring to life not only the beauty of the Appalachia, but also the crippling poverty that can and does cause people to resort to terrible things?
Lynn.
Lynn.
We have to get this one right, right?
Right. Good job, Baron. Way to lead us into the
Would have been a little sad otherwise, wouldn't it?
It would have been, because I was going, wait a minute, I didn't think I hit all my authors. Yes. And even the participants are jumping right on there with you, Lynn as well. So Lynn, in
Yes.
your Ava Morgan series, your main character lives deep in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains. A quote about your writing said, Willis brings to life not only the beauty of the Appalachia, but also the crippling poverty that can and does cause people to resort to terrible things. What if the stories were set on the West Coast? And I had to Google this. It says the Central Valley of California is sometimes called the Appalachia of the West. So if your stories were now set on the West Coast, say in the Central Valley of California, how do you think your stories would change?
Yeah, I've never been to the West Coast, so that's kind of hard for me to answer. But I guess the landscape itself would have to be now I know with Appalachian it's very it's mountainous, but it's not like the Rockies where it's trees. And I know, well, of course, the Rockies has trees, but and the one thing that makes Appalachia so poor is the lack of jobs, the lack of not community, but the lack of central healthcare, of industry, of you, you name it, and that's what leads to the poverty. And when you feel like you've got no other recourse other than to sell oxy, because if you don't sell oxy, then you're going to have to move 200 miles from home to get a decent job. So, and I don't know how that plays out on the West Coast. I think a lot of it is very set in Appalachia because of, I think, was it President Johnson that declared the war on poverty? And all of a sudden, Appalachia's, this big rat hole, so to say, and that's just not it.
I think the obvious, hugest immediate difference is the geography. Because a lot of the economics may be similar on the West Coast, but we don't have those mountains. And that's definitely also a huge factor. You're impacting the as you're looking at what's going to impact your characters and your story and your storyline and your plots. So all righty. Well, yeah, I think that if my math is correct, I think that both teams are winners. There are no losers here. we're all winners.
No. Tell us who got it.
I was gonna say,
We-
you're being really
gonna be
nice,
Yeah,
Penny, but I'm
we
pretty
can
sure
take
East
it,
Coast
we can
won.
take it. We're writers, we can take it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Well,
we're used to rejection.
This isn't any Pop Warner football where everybody gets a trophy, okay?
well, I may have, because I was looking back through real quickly, and I admit that right now I'm getting I think I've got two for the East Coast, the two
Three.
East Coast.
Yeah, I think
We
they
did
got
them
them
all.
all.
They got them all,
Yeah.
and the West Coast, you guys got.
Sadly, we came up a little short.
That's okay. It's all right. It's
Sadly, they
all.
listen to me. It must be that voice of authority from my old law enforcement days
It's
that
the
did
law
it.
enforcement thing, Robin.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
You know what it is, Robin, and I can relate to this when you were saying that you were referred to as a policeman, and one of the things is that you said you were they said you were a policeman, or that you were listed as a top guy, and when I was in the military, my commissioning papers said that I was an officer and a gentleman by an act of Congress.
Right.
So I used to always say the Army made a man out of me,
Ooh.
and so that's really what I think that's where you just had that. I know the right answer, and everybody said she must know the right answer because you spoke with such authority. So anyway, okay, so if any
Penny, I have a question though, because I'm competitive like that. I want to know who had the shortest time too. I didn't forget.
Oh, no, you did not. Okay, so let me tally up. It was 40, 60.
Thank you for asking that. I was wondering that myself.
And
I forgot the question.
okay, so the East Coast did their speed intro in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. The West Coast did their speed intro in 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Now, see, you guys are just show offs over there.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're gonna have to do this again next year, guys.
Oh,
We're
so
gonna practice.
We need a
up.
rematch.
a rematch in a year to see how well it goes. So let's see. I'm just looking through real quickly my obscure information about you guys to just toss out there and see if for example, oh, the thing I did not say about Baron that people may want to ask about is surviving a commercial airline crash.
Oh,
That is a fact.
And let me see. And I don't know. Does Club Med even still exist?
I
We
don't know.
must
It's
have-
been a while.
So, let's see. You had I found this really fascinating. I I find everything about Appalachia really interesting, but the churches with snake handling and uh that whole area is just fascinating to me that even exists. So and the uh, Audrey's Palm Beach, Florida versus Palm Springs, California. I was thinking to I can't imagine why somebody would willingly go to Florida in the summer, but people do. I mean, they've got Disney World after all. So I mean, that's a huge draw. But anyway, if there are questions from the audience, that because we wrapped it up, we have a little bit of time. If any of you guys want to ask questions of the panel, now's the time to put them in your put them in the chat or put them in the question
well, can you
device.
hear about Baron's airplane aviation, whatever that you brought up?
Well,
While it is-
the plane crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was back in about 1980 in Orange County Airport, now called John Wayne Santa Ana Airport. Air California was flying, I think they were 737s at the time, and full flight from San Jose to Orange County, coming back from a business meeting up there. And a plane in front of us failed to take off. Our pilot was told to go around. He decided he was in a bigger hurry than that, decided to land anyway, landed very hot. Our landing gear collapsed. We skidded across the runway. Airplane broke in half, and everyone survived. Broken bones and what have you, but no fatalities. And to my knowledge, that was the first time a commercial airliner had crashed, and with no fatalities.
Wow.
And I flew again 3 days later.
Because you had no choice, or you're just that brave.
Well, no, because I had no choice. And the carcass of my dead airplane from 3 days earlier was still in the center of the airfield because it was being examined by the FAA.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it was a little.
Was there like PTSD when it was taking off and landing and such?
No.
Because I know when I was in a high-speed pursuit and we crashed, I was driving, I crashed, we were solo cars. It was 105 miles per hour.
Holy
And
cow.
when it was like a long time before I could actually even get my personal car up, never mind a patrol car up, past like 65, once I started getting to 75, 80, I would start shaking and the adrenaline was coming up. I could feel the pricks in my wrist and stuff. So I was, kind of curious. 3 days later, I would think that I'd be like holding on to the seat, like.
It's really funny because the whole idea of getting back on the horse from my childhood was echoing in my mind. And I thought, this is just, you're either never going to travel again by air, which was not an option, or you're just gonna suck it up and tough it out. And that was the only choice that remained. My partner was sitting behind me on that second flight 3 days later, and as we were coming in for a landing, he grabbed the back of my seat and shook it vigorously as we were coming in, just to be a rat. So that was good fun.
Wow.
Great fun. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah.
But
With
did
friends
you
like
get your
that.
luggage back?
What, Lynn?
Did you get your luggage back?
Interestingly, yeah. It was, however, the only thing I was carrying was a briefcase at the time. It was crushed by the seats in front of me, and I still have it. I have a crushed briefcase that was a survivor as well.
Wow.
Oh, well, Robin had a question that says, what are you writers working on now? And who are you reading at the moment?
Oh.
So that's for you guys. Jump in there.
Okay.
What are you working on?
Not,
What are you
not this
reading?
Robin, some Robin in the audience.
Robin Stull.
Okay.
says,
I'm like,
what do you-
I didn't ask anything.
Every
Well,
year,
I'm reading James Latwell,
Latwell.
Bruce, excuse me?
I said, same.
Yeah. I'm reading Bruce Robert Coffin and rereading James Crumley. And I'm working on the 5th book, just finished the 5th book in the Ty Dawson series.
Wow. Okay. You've been busy. Anybody else? What you reading? What you
I'm in a
reading? What you
book
working on?
club, and every year, 1 month of the year, we all read different banned books. So I'm reading Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, which I had never read before, and it is scary. And I'm working on a thriller that starts in London and will go to Germany and deals with weaponizing diseases.
Okay. Anybody else want to share what you're reading and working on?
I'm working on my 4th book, which has 2 timelines, and one of them takes place in 1987 and has revolves around some video game designers. So all I'm reading right now is issues of Byte magazine from 1987.
Yasmin, did you want to share?
Sure. I am reading Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson. It's the second, or sequel to his first. And I am working on my next thriller, that is due in a few weeks, and I'm a little behind, so nobody say anything about me being here. Okay, it's a secret.
It's a secret. Well, they'll never find out from us. Lynn, do you want to share what you're reading and what you're working on?
I recently acquired most all my rights back. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm redoing covers and redoing the internal formatting and getting those back up on Amazon, and working on book 4 of the Ava Logan series and book 2 of the Emily Gail series, and doing a little bit of ghostwriting in between. And what I'm reading is James Latwell and Wanda Morse.
James is a wonderful author to read. Robin, what you up to?
I am up to many different things. I'm completing my first YA mystery, and so rereading a lot of April Henry's YA mystery books. She's a great YA writer. And I am also currently working on a picture book. So yeah, writing and illustrating. I'm going in as writing illustrator. Let me just. That's Dash.
Oh,
And this is Carson and Dash's very busy day. So I did this just kind of as a fun little, experiment gift. But it was like, I think I might want to try this. So I have an old story that I wrote back in 1983 about Humphrey the Whale. Most of us in California who are old enough will remember Humphrey. And it was 1,800 words, and I honed it down to 450 because an 1,800 picture book is probably not doable. But anyway, so this is very new to me, and we'll see what happens.
How exciting.
Good luck. That's awesome.
Okay, yeah, we will all wait to see that. I hope it gets out in time for Christmas so we can
Probably not.
so we have one less gift to worry about. Okay, and I asked the lovely organizers of the East versus West Crime-a-Thon to give you guys handouts. I got the examples of books with exceptional settings and tips for using settings in mystery novels. So those should have been mailed to everybody who was signed up to as a participant. So you should all have that as well. And it is, if my clock on my computer is correct, right at 2:00. I want to thank everybody for participating, for being patient with me, and for coming out to play today. Because I think I'm a Sesame Street learner. I think the best learning happens when you're playing a game and when you're having fun. So I want to thank you all for coming and playing with me today, and I want to thank everybody who joined us today as a participant for throwing your answers in the chat and cheering your teams on, and really, there are no losers here. It was a strong showing by everybody, and I look forward to the rematch next year. Okay, so
Congratulations, East Coast. Well done.
Yes.
So am I to turn this
great.
over to Miss Karen at this point?
Okay. Thank you, everyone. That was so much fun, and I learned so much more about all of you. We're going to unspotlight this panel and Penny Manson, and we're going to spotlight Paula, Gail, Benson, and her panelists. And we will get that party started.
Tired against diarrhea, abdominal pain, and sore throat.
Uh-oh.
How protect yourself against certain HPV-related cancers? Talk to a doctor or pharmacist today.
If everyone else can please mute themselves, thank you. Okay.
Everything in this house. Wait, don't know what's behind the walls.
Who is that? I'm trying to find them and mute them.
This is the
Okay. We're getting you guys slowly but surely. Okay. Missing, who are we missing? Dorothy? There she is. Okay. Did I get everybody?
Carla.
Carla. Yay. Okay, go for it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for staying with us for panel number 2 of the East Coast Crime-a-Thon. And our panel is the character panel. We're going to do things just a little differently. I have divided our panelists into pairs, and we are going to pose. First of all, I'm going to introduce each pair of panelists and pose a short answer question. Whichever of the pair is able to press their nose first, I will call upon first and let their team answer the short answer question. And then I will go back to the pair to ask them something a little bit more in depth. And our first marvelous pair is Bruce Borgos And Bruce, I've been practicing this all day. Bruce lives in Nevada. Did I say it correctly?
Well, you said my last name correctly, which is amazing.
Okay.
Most people don't, but actually, if you were to say Nevada out here, you'd probably be shocked.
Oh, okay. So is it Nevada or Nevada?
It's Nevada.
I'm so sorry. I listened to the wrong tapes. I'm so sorry. I really did.
No, you're good.
Well, I got your last name. Thank you. Bruce
Amazing.
Borgos, you live in Nevada. You write the Sheriff Porter Beck series, and you've also written 2 standalone suspense novels. When you were in college, you took a course from the screenwriter of The China Syndrome, who complimented your storytelling ability by telling you you can make a living at this. And I think that's a pretty great compliment.
Yeah, I probably should have listened to him. I didn't. I kind of let that sit in my head for about 30 years while I was doing some other things, but it always stuck with me. Yeah, it was great. It was great praise, and it was something I always kind of clung to.
Fantastic. And your partner from the East Coast is Carla Damron. Carla, you live in Columbia, South Carolina. You write the Caleb Knowles and the Georgia Thayer series about social workers who become involved in criminal investigations. You've also written The Stone Necklace, which was one of the last books that was an Pat Conroy imprint for the University of South Carolina Press. And your latest, Georgia Thayer, The Weird Girl, has just been released. All right, I've got you both in my eyesight. Here is your question. What are the unique names for law enforcement groups or law enforcement officers in your region of the country?
Oh,
all right, Bruce, you got it.
So out here, I have, or we have many more sheriff's departments than we do police departments. And really not just, in the area I write about, but a lot of the rural West. And that's generally because those organizations are county oriented rather than city, and they're in less populated areas. So I tend to give the deputies that work with my main character, Porter Beck, names that are somewhat befitting of a rural Western cop. So for instance, I have a deputy named Tuffy Scruggs, another one named Arshel Jessup, another named Wardell Spann, and I have identical twin deputies named Johnny and Jimmy Green that are so tall that they're often referred to as the Jolly Greens or the Twin Peaks. So that's as, I try to come up with some unique kind of specifically Western kind of names for those folks.
I think that the Greens would probably feel comfortable on the East Coast too. Rae, what unique names have you encountered for law enforcement agencies or individuals?
Do you mean Rae or Carla?
No. I'm going through the West
everybody.
Coasters. Get the answer first.
I
Because
see.
Bruce, yes, go ahead.
Northern California, we usually just say cops. It's the cops. That tends to be the more generic.
Very good. Very good. Vinnie, any unique names that you have heard?
Well, I live in Santa Cruz, so the first thing I think of is that we have a harbor and we have police just for the harbor. So it's the harbor police, Santa Cruz Harbor.
Oh, okay.
And I know there are for different areas, very specific police. So.
Okay, very good. Now, Carla, I'm going to be very upset if you don't say a particular name.
A particular name?
Yes, that is unique for South Carolina.
Huh.
But is known across the nation.
Are you talking about a criminal?
I'm talking about a criminal investigatory division in South Carolina.
Oh, the SLED?
Thank you.
Yeah.
The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division is known
right.
as SLED.
Right, they're known as SLED. And the other unique thing about South Carolina is our prosecutors are called solicitors. That's not really common. And my husband's from New England, so I know that up in there, the state, especially in Massachusetts, the highway patrol are called stadies.
Oh, wow.
So, but let's see, Dorothy, what do you know?
Yeah.
Well, I do know that if it's the police, it's a city, and if it's the sheriff, it's a county. And that's not always the case. That's for South Carolina, and I know that changes for North Carolina even.
Yeah.
And Sally, you're from upstate South Carolina.
I have nothing to add. They beat me. You had two South Carolina people ahead of me. I don't think there's anything much different up here.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go back to Bruce and Carla, and this is your in-depth question. You both write about young people who become involved with the law. What regional qualities do your juvenile characters have? And I'll let Carla go first on this.
I'm thumping my nose. So I have youth in two of my books, or several of my books. And one of the things that I think I have to address and do address is disparity and how youth are treated. For example, I have in Justice Be Done, the last Caleb Knowles book, I have a young African-American guy who's in county jail, but he's like 16 years old. And he is going to be tried as an adult. And we know that Black youth in South Carolina are far more likely to be tried as adults than white youth. In The Weird Girl, I have a very entitled white youth who's from a very prominent family, very similar to the Murdaugh family, for example. And he is absolutely protected from consequences. And that, I don't know, I think that's probably true lots of places, but especially in the South, we have that disparity that I feel like we have to address and we have to correct ultimately.
Bruce, how about in the West?
Well, in my books, I have a few juvenile delinquents that populate my stories for some reason. I don't know why. I don't have normal kids. But then at least they're delinquents when we meet them. In terms of regional qualities, they strangely mostly talk with what I call a rural twang. Now, it sounds a lot like somebody, a dialect from the South or even from Texas. But strangely, and I live, in Las Vegas, but if you were to go 75 miles north of here, suddenly everybody talks like they're from Texas or from Tennessee. I don't understand it. I don't know how it came about, but it's a real thing. And it's just kind of a rural quality and a rural dialect that people out here have. And in the county that I write about, which only has about 6,000 people, anybody who's a younger person in my books are either riding horses or four-wheelers.
Wow, that is so interesting. I need to ask a friend of mine who's from Oklahoma if the Texas influence is there. That is so interesting. Okay, couple number two or pair number two, Rae, whose full writing name is R. Franklin James, known as Rae. You grew up in San Francisco and live in Northern California. You write 3 different series, one about Joanna Hudson, a genealogist, one about Hollis Morgan, a white-collar criminal who persevered to become a probate attorney, and one about Remy Lowe Bishop, who's been fired as a forensic technician for falsifying results. And Dorothy McFalls, who also is known as Dorothy St. James, lives in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. And you have written romance, mystery, fantasy, romantasy, and have 3 mystery series, one featuring a White House gardener, one featuring the proprietor of a Southern chocolate shop, and one, a librarian operating a secret book room of real books. Okay, I have Rae and Dorothy in my sights so I can see who touches their nose first. Here is your short answer question. Where is the best place to steal dialogue on your coast? I'm sorry, Dorothy. Rae was right on the nose, as we shall say.
I know that answer.
Excellent.
For my character, and even for me, it's BART. It's the public rail line that goes throughout the Bay Area. And BART has the most interesting conversations. You have to eavesdrop because they're not usually a conversation you're in. But you can, from other people, it's just fascinating. And I have picked up dialogue several times.
Fantastic. Bruce, where do you steal dialogue?
I would say it's got to be any diner between California and Utah, which is a pretty good stretch of road. So that constitutes the state of Nevada and anything that's not in Las Vegas or Reno. So typically diners or truck stops, any place that has ranchers and those are the people that populate my stories. So that's where I would go to just kind of eavesdrop, like Rae said.
Excellent. Vinnie, how about you?
Most of my writing is set here in the Santa Cruz area, and I would go with the beach because at the beach, people usually don't have their nose in their cell phone. They're actually playing a game or talking to one another.
And now for the East Coasters. Dorothy, where would you go to steal dialogue?
Well, of course, I'd go to church and listen there because everyone is always talking about everyone else. But one place where I would go, because when I was writing a lot of these series, I had a small child at home, so I'd go to the Starbucks. And one time, this old woman was wheeled in by her grandchildren, and she was just complaining about everything. And they adored her, though. They just the love for such a cranky person and everything that came out of her mouth. I was writing and I just started writing what she was saying. And she turned into a main character in my book because it was just a wonderful character. And then where I would go get my hair cut, he's since retired, but he was the kind of old Charleston family who would just go out on the weekends and drive around and find family abandoned cemeteries looking for his ancestors in there. Wow. And he always had a story to tell. And so I would be taking notes.
Carla, how about you? Where would you go to steal dialogue?
I have stolen dialogue in restaurants, and I go along with Bruce, especially like diners. Like we have the Lizard's Thicket here in South Carolina, in the Midlands, and I have heard some fascinating conversations. My husband's always like, "You're not really paying attention to me, are you?" I'm like, "Oh no, the table behind me is much more interesting."
Sally, how about you?
Well, I write in 2 different states, right? I mean, I don't live in them anymore. I used to live in New Jersey. So New Jersey is definitely diners. Diners and pizzerias. There's a pizzeria on every corner. But down here in the South, I have to say Waffle House.
Absolutely.
Somebody once told me, they said Waffle House is a country and western song itself. So Waffle House is a great place to get the real deal.
Well done. Well done. Okay, Rae and Dorothy, you both write about characters that face adversity. And in particular, I'm thinking about Rae's probate attorney, Hollis Morgan, and Dorothy's librarian, Trudell Beckett. Where do your characters find their strength to face their challenges? And how might that be unique for the coast where you live? Dorothy, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, my character, Trudell Beckett, she really is a product of rural South Carolina. And this was the first book that I wrote that did take place in a poor rural town. And my background is an urban planner, and I worked as a floating planner that would go to these towns that didn't have any resources or staff really, and help them out with planning for their town. And I learned a lot that people in those towns, they really if you're younger, you're still living in the past in a lot of these towns. And so you're listening to your elders, and to go against what your elders are telling you to do takes a feat of bravery sometimes. And also because she's a librarian, and libraries in the South are notoriously underfunded and the last to get a budget line. And so she's always having to do more with less and just making do. So when she finds this situation where they're getting rid of all the books and she's all mad about that and she steals the books, it's just kind of a natural thing for her to open her own secret book room, because that's what she's always doing. You just figure it out, you do it, you don't wait for the resources to come, because they're never going to come in these towns.
Very good. Rae, how about your characters?
The one that comes to mind is Hollis, probably first, because she uses lies. She's a trained liar, and she's found that it saves her out of a lot of situations. To the extent that she's on the West Coast, I'm not so sure about that being a primary bonus, but definitely because she hides behind lying because she doesn't trust that people will accept her as she is. And she's also very good at it. And so she has learned to use it to her advantage.
Well, I'm amazed at the amount of output that you each have. It's just extraordinary, just extraordinary. Our last pair of panelists are Vinnie Hansen and Sally Handley. Vinnie, you live in Santa Cruz, it's California, and write the Carol Sabala Baker Sleuth Mysteries. You've also written 2 suspense novels published by Level Best Books, and quite a few short stories, including stories in 4 Guppy anthologies. I'm delighted that we are both in Fish or Cut Bait. And your second suspense novel, Crime Writer, has just been released. So congratulations. Sally, you live in upstate South Carolina, particularly Malden, and you write the Holly and Ivy series about sisters who garden and solve mysteries. And you've also written a standalone novel, Stop the Threat, about school security. Okay, because y'all are our last pair, you all get a double header. Short answer. I see you both. Get ready. First question. Where would a character on your coast most likely go for donuts? Sally.
Krispy Kreme.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, East Coasters. Any other answers beside Krispy Kreme? Dorothy? Carla?
Well, Duck Donuts is good, but Krispy Kreme is kind of the universal.
Yeah,
This
Krispy
is
Kreme's
true.
universal,
This is
unless it's a
true.
small, individual.
When I was in college, we would call the Krispy Kreme and ask them if the red light was on.
Oh,
That meant they were just coming out of the fryer. We would dash.
very important. Very important. Vinnie, where would characters on the West Coast go for donuts?
Well, I would say maybe Voodoo Donuts. I don't go myself. I'm not a donut either, but certainly not Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' Donuts, because we don't have either one in Santa Cruz, believe it or not.
Oh, I'm so sad. That's just heartbreaking. Bruce, any donut shops in your neck of the woods?
Where I live, mostly, places that sell Krispy Kremes, like 7-Eleven or a grocery store, because anything else would be considered a hate crime, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay. Rae, how about for you?
I have a feeling it's just in my small little neighborhood. There's a place called Sunrise Bistro, and they have the best donuts, the best bagels, and the best what do you call it? The donut holes. So I have a feeling I'm the only one that knows that.
Oh, okay. We won't tell anybody. We won't tell anybody. Okay, second short answer question for Sally and for Vinnie. Watching your hands now. Where would a character on your coast go for coffee? Vinnie.
Not a corporate place. I put an image in chat for everyone to see for Santa Cruz Coffee Place, but there are lots of other boutique coffee places like Verve, for example. But most people here wouldn't be caught dead in a corporate coffee place.
Okay. Bruce?
Out here in Nevada, again, we've got two major cities in Las Vegas, Reno, and Starbucks would be the big player, of course, but anywhere in between, which is a stretch of about 450 miles, basically be any place you can buy gas.
Oh, okay. That sounds good. Rae?
I was thinking of, I'm probably the only one that knows this one, Cafe M on 4th Street in Berkeley. It's a neighborhood thing.
Neat.
I know it.
Sally, where would they go in the East?
I think any place that has a drive-through window.
Good answer. Good answer. Good answer. Carla?
Well, Starbucks is pretty popular, but I think the smaller independent coffee shops are doing really well. And that's what I always like. We have the Drip and 5 Points that I love.
And Dorothy?
Well, I already outed myself that I go to Starbucks. It's just convenient. Mount Pleasant is a very corporate area. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, Vinnie and Sally, here is your in-depth question. You both write about characters who live in tight-knit communities. What regional situations have your characters encountered? And Sally, I'll let you go first.
Okay, so my sister sleuths live in 2 different states, one in New Jersey, one in South Carolina. And that presents a lot of great opportunities for mystery settings in both areas when you go from one state to the other. Now, Holly lives in Pineland Park, New Jersey, a fictitious version of a town that I used to live in there. And that's part of the tri-state area, okay? So you're 10 miles from Manhattan. You are an hour and a half from Bridgeport, Connecticut, and you're 2 hours from the Catskills. So the settings allow for some interesting, well, there's a lot of diversity in the population, first of all, and then it creates a lot of interesting humorous situations for example, in book 6 in my series, The Mystery of the Bogus Blooms, I have a suspect who flees Pineland Park to go to the Catskills to hide away. So that creates some interesting humor between the very small town cop who actually hires part-time deputies to help him out when he needs them, and having to interface with the more urban city in Pineland Park. So you've got that kind of thing going on. Now, on the other hand, in the last book, the Blooming Book Club murder, the Blooming Book Club murder, we have the president of the garden club in South Carolina is murdered, okay? And this was personally fun for me because it allowed me to play up the humor and this is from personal experience, how truly competitive garden clubs in South Carolina are. They're very important, they're very competitive, and the situation just, was beautiful for creating lots of conflict among the characters. So it's fun to showcase the situations with the people based on the settings that they're in.
Very much so. Vinnie, how about you? What tight-knit communities and what regional unique situations would your characters encounter?
Well, I'm going to talk about a whole different kind of garden, cannabis. So I know everybody has cannabis growing, but because it's the new kale. But in my new mystery crime writer, my heroine, Zoe Kaczynski, lives on the edge of an illegal cannabis grow in a tiny house. So I like this location a lot because it immediately means she lives in an isolated place where they don't want law enforcement to come, even if there's trouble. So I think that cannabis is sort of a California thing, even though it's all over the United States, that we really claim it. The industry originated here in California in what's called the Emerald Triangle, which is made up of 3 counties, Humboldt, Trinity, and Mendocino in Northern California. It was the first state to legalize medical marijuana. And it also was the place where there was an actual university established in Oakland, California, by a guy who just recently died named Richard Lee, to teach the craft of growing and creating cannabis business. So even though cannabis is legal here in California now for recreational use too, not just medical, there still is a lot of conflict and crime around it because, of course, there's a tension between legal growers and illegal growers. And a person might think, well, why is anybody illegal now that we have legal? But because legal cannabis is taxed so heavily, it often is expensive, and people can still sell more quantity illegally and make a good profit. As a matter of fact, only about 38% of the cannabis that was consumed in California last year was legal. So I probably should stop because having researched this book, I could go on and on and on about marijuana right now. So yeah, please ask me questions at the end if you want.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Now I'm going to ask some general questions, and I'm just going to open this up to the group. What archetypes do you consider uniquely Western or Eastern? Carla, you want to start us out?
I would say in the South or in the East, we have the kind of, we're more prim and, I don't know, we're kind of prim and proper and maybe a tiny bit more formal than my experience when I was out in California. But we also, the other thing that I think is very unique, especially in the South, is we're going to be very, very nice to you, but that doesn't mean we like you. It's about an inch deep. It's about an inch deep. And so, when you're writing, that's kind of really fun to explore, is how your character is going to be really polite to one another, but you as a writer can explore what they're really thinking about the character that they're interacting with. Yeah, somebody types, bless your heart. Yeah. Bless your heart, you would think is a compliment. Bless your heart is actually, oh, that is a deep, deep cut of an insult in the South. So I would say that would be the most significant thing that would stand out about the East Coast.
Bruce?
Well, I guess for my purposes, the landscape itself really is a Western archetype. The area I set my stories in is very vast, it's unforgiving, and it really shapes any of the characters who live there in my stories. As far as people go, any Easterners I tend to bring into my novels tend to be government people who tend to work in cubicles and don't have a lot of experience. in survival outside the office. They might be much more sophisticated than my characters, but not necessarily as interesting. You know, in terms of things that, I guess my favorite thing that I've heard people say out here is, "Oh my hell," and that's what people say who really don't know how to cuss properly, or they're religious, and that's the worst thing they can possibly say.
I like that. I'm going to remember that. Dorothy?
I think one thing that I like to play with is the good old boy. And he could come from money and just look like the poorest person you ever met. And you know, you might meet somebody and not know, if you don't know their family. Around here, family is a big thing. The family line. Who do you came from? Growing up in the South, I wasn't considered Southern because my parents weren't from the South. And so even though I was here my entire life, I was disqualified. And you hit that a lot. And I like to play with that, is the family line. And people look at, if they know what family you're from, they'll look at that and judge you on that based on what your dad did, what your daddy did, what your daddy's daddy did. That's the story. And are those characters living up to that expectation, good or bad? Or are they living down to it, good or bad?
Rae?
When you were saying archetype, I was really thinking about my character. I would say in Northern California, and I think in California in general, the arts are extremely important, combined with tech, which is also important, combined with protests. We love a good protest, and and art fairs and good food. So usually I'm thinking of my own character, and she kind of dabbles a little in all of those. And even in my second book, it wasn't until I looked at this question, I realized they're all in the Bay Area because it's what I know. And I also like having readers come up to me and say, I know that street. But I always do is I never make it next to anything that could move. So the book will hold up over many years, hopefully. But I think people know that basis is what drives the archetype. And that way, when you have a plot line, if you weave any of that into it, it's believable for me.
Mm-hmm. Sally?
Well, the New Jersey side has, your Jersey guy archetype, like Tony Soprano, and in my first book, Nick Minnelli's the detective, and of course his father-in-law, Mr. Brunetti, is a little on the shady side. So you can have a lot of fun playing with those characters because they can be both humorous and scary at the same time. The other one, I think, for the cities, for where you've got a more urban setting, are the street smart kids. The street smart, and in my book, Pepe Alvarez is a character who appears in the first book, and she is just, she just knows the lay of the land and what to do in any situation. And by book 6, she's actually become a police person herself. So that was a character I really enjoyed bringing back in later books. And now for the Southern settings, of course, the Southern Belle, which is kind of what Carla alluded to when she said about being prim and proper. But the Southern Belle, who, is very much focused on how she looks and her social setting, her status in the community as a social, and especially whether or not she wins at the garden shows. That's always very important. So to me, those are like archetypes that you can have a lot of fun playing with in either of those two settings.
Vinnie?
I think of two big archetypes for the West in general. One is the cowboy. I just don't think of the East, and maybe this is unfair, but I don't think of the East or the South as having the cowboy, the individualistic, rugged, code of conduct cowboy. And another one, of course, I think of in Santa Cruz is the surfer dude. And I know that people do surf on the East Coast, but here, particularly in Santa Cruz claims to be Surf City, USA, and quarrels with Huntington Beach in Southern California for that title. So we even have a statue of a surfer in Santa Cruz. So there is the surfer dude, who also is in some ways very individualistic and also definitely has a code of conduct, believe it or not.
I'm going to stop for just a minute from some of the questions I had planned to ask. Rick, I have not followed closely enough. Do we have questions from the audience?
Paula, this is Karen. We
No.
have one. Oh, go ahead, Rick.
I think I only had one. It was about how one-sided dialogue on a cell phone versus two people face to face in a much earlier
Oh, okay.
round.
Could you repeat that one?
Oops, am I still on? Yeah, it said, how about one-sided dialogue on a cell phone versus two people face to face? When you're in an airport, you're listening to someone on their cell phone as a place to get
Does anybody have any comments about how that you deal with cell phone dialogue? Do you show both sides? Do you show one side?
I think if you show one side, it's going to be really weird. But when we get back to the best place to get dialogue from real life, I've heard people talk on the cell phone and just relay the most intimate personal details in a Panera bread. You know, and it's like, you need to go somewhere private with that conversation because you've got a writer in line and she's taking notes, you know.
Anybody else want to respond to the cell phone question?
Well, I think the one-sided conversation gives you a lot of opportunity for humor. I mean, if you think about guys like Bob Newhart, who made an art form out of that, right? And it reveals an awful lot about that character, what you hear one-sided. And the one side you can completely imagine what the other person is saying if you do it well.
Paula, this is Karen again.
Yes.
Was another question, and it was how many of the authors write about places they are not from?
Oh, excellent. How many of you write about places that you are not from? Bruce? Sally? Vinnie? So it looks like 3.
I wrote one of my novels I set in Italy, in Tuscany, and I had visited there on a vacation and got the idea, well, why can't Holly and Ivy go to Italy? And actually, that's book 4 in my series, and it's my favorite book.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I know you all have spoken a little bit about dialect, but do any of you try to use a form of dialect as you're writing dialogue for your characters? Rae?
I have a character. She's not the main character. She's a side character, but she was from Jamaica. And in Jamaica, they speak a number of languages, but her primary is French. And I wanted to show that her when she spoke, it was a little bit of comedic kind of relief in that as well, because they drop all you drop all your articles. So it's not so much you're writing in the language as you are, as the language gets converted to English, you're writing in how they would string that language. And so they don't use articles. And they use very few adjectives, are adjectives. So it follows the noun instead of precedes the noun. And so every so often I would sprinkle in a French word, but it was only just to say, oh, this person is not, obviously English is not their first language. And so, like I said, I used her interpretation. Oh, the other thing is she always got cliches wrong. So you say the grass is always greener on the other side. She'd say the grass is always brown on the other side. And so it was that kind of letting the reader know that this person, you're in another country. You're speaking from someone from another country.
Absolutely. Anybody else use any kind of form of dialect in your writing?
I mean, we're in the South, in the South, I'll use y'all a lot, but I try not to use a lot of colloquial, or, you got to be careful with dialect or it can sound cartoonish and also make it more difficult for the reader. So I try to just kind of hint at it without being real overt.
Excellent. And now, who makes a better villain? West Coast or East Coast?
East Coast.
East Coast.
I agree. East Coast.
We'll lie to your face and smile doing it.
And now, why do you say East Coast?
Well, I think Dorothy was getting at it. We're really good connivers. Our villains are really good connivers and can present themselves so well. Again, it's an inch thick, can be front row in church, all of that, and then have this whole other life.
So
I think the mafia.
Okay.
That's a stereotype.
Yeah.
But I really think that a good villain can be found anywhere, right? And the more unlikely they are to be a villain, the better a villain they are, right? The better a suspect they can be in your books, I think.
Well, and I'll deviate just a little bit. Can you write noir for either coast? I know the West Coast is well known for its noir novels, but can you write East Coast noir?
I think so. A friend of mine writes brilliant noir set in Buffalo, New York.
Oh.
And it's very dark.
Right. And with organized crime, you definitely can write noir.
Very true. Very true. What unique backstory might a character from your region have? Bruce?
Well, my main character, who's the sheriff of Lincoln County here, has an interesting backstory. He's an ex-Army intelligence officer who returns to Nevada to take over the job his dad had for 30 years. But he has an almost eidetic auditory memory, which means he remembers everything he's ever heard. So if he read a book out loud or he heard a conversation, he remembers it forever, which is a good thing. And if you're a sheriff and you're trying to catch people who are telling lies, who can't remember what they said. But it's bad at the same time because he can never forget the painful stuff that he's heard in his life. But on the flip side of that, while he remembers everything he's heard, sometimes he doesn't hear everything correctly. So he's very bad with like song lyrics where, it's like, give me the Beach Boys and free my soul. That's what he thinks he hears. And it's not those lyrics, So he can remember it all, but sometimes he gets it wrong because that he just heard it wrong. His ears aren't perfect.
Dorothy?
Well,
what unique backstory have your characters had?
I think one of them, I like to do a fish out of water story. And with my Southern Chocolate Shop mystery series, my main character is from Chicago and finds herself in a small beach town in South Carolina. And she's from a big Chicago family, and it's so different. I think she's trying to navigate the southernness of that town and how people don't say what they mean often and aren't direct. And also, you might come from money and not even look like it. And she has to deal with all of that while trying to figure out a mystery, figuring out who's telling her the truth, but maybe nobody's telling the truth because around here, we might lie just to make ourselves look better or say things that you want us to hear,
Vinnie?
you're muted.
Oh, Vinnie, I think you're muted here.
Oh, sorry about that.
There, no, that's good.
I had to take a break for my cat. She behaved herself for 2 hours. So anyway, pardon me. Yes, like Dorothy, in my work in progress, I'm going to take up Playa Maria, which is my name for Santa Cruz in my suspense novels. I'm going to take a character from Playa Maria, and she flees this area and takes herself to South Dakota. South Dakota is where I grew up. And of course, these two places are very culturally different, very politically different. And so I hope I will find some of the humor, conflict, things that you were talking about by having her out being a fish out of water.
Sally?
Well, I've been talking about my cozy mystery series, but I did write one standalone suspense novel called Stop the Threat. I created an imaginary town in South Carolina where teachers were required to carry guns. Now, my main character in that story, it really does not want to have to use a gun. And it's not for the reasons that anybody thinks. She was born and raised in Texas, and there was a situation she was involved in where there was gunplay, and that is why she doesn't want to have to be armed in her classroom. But of course she does, and you'll have to read the book to get the full background of that. But she's a character with a unique backstory that is very important and is exactly what motivates her.
Rae, I thought your Hollis Morgan has a very unique backstory, but any other unique backstories that you want to share with us?
I'd like to know the answer. No, I'm thinking she's also a wine snob, and up in Northern California, we have so many wineries. And so whenever she goes out to that little cafe on the corner, up here, it's not uncommon. You just have a great wine list. And she makes a comment about what the wine is like and what to order and things like that. So her backstory, though, comes from also a dysfunctional home. And as she goes through her character arc, because this is book 7 I'm on, you can see her evolve from that. And it's almost like having PTSD and you just survive your family. And so, but she carries that with her as she encounters other people that have issues.
And Carla?
Yeah,
interesting backstory.
Yeah, I'm being a Southerner, and my bad guy and the weird girl, or one of the bad guys, because of course I have to have several. He is somebody who can trace his family back for generations, a very prominent family, and is way back when his family were slave owners. And that sense of entitlement and that sense of I get to get what I want no matter who I hurt. It's like in his genes, that sense of, if I want this and I should have it, and, and the rules are different for me. That's something I see in real life around here, sadly, and I hope that it'll change with time, but I'm kind of fascinated by it as a mystery writer. I love just kind of diving into how do you have that inclination that it's okay to victimize people if it helps you get what you feel like you deserve. And in a very righteous way, feels like he deserves it. I find that really fascinating and disturbing to explore. Rae, you were going to say something?
Yeah,
Rae. It was something you triggered. Hollis is an ex-con, and she has, and her arc shows how she's dealt with this over a few books. But also, I can't tell you how many readers have come up to me and said, can I get that paperwork? Where is the paperwork having my, for getting my actual pardon, which is different from a criminal pardon. And so backstory can, for me anyway, can provide a wealth of possibilities for where you want to take your plots.
Absolutely. And I see we're getting short on time. Could each of you tell us what you're working on now, what to be on the lookout for? And I'll start with Bruce again.
Yeah, I am just finishing up book 4 in my series. Book 3 just came out in July. It's called The Blue Horse, and hit the USA Today bestseller list the first week out of the gate, which was great.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. And I actually will be in Sacramento with our good buddy Jim Latwill on October 16th at a place called, I want to say it's Wild Sisters Book Company, something like that, for an event there. But that's what I'm working on.
Okay. And Rick tells me that we have one more question. Rick, can I ask everybody what their next book is and then go to the question? Well, I'm going to. Carla, what's your next? Wait, right now The Weird Girl has just come out. And you're going back to work on another one that I've seen some of the drafts of Bird on a Wire, which I'm looking forward to.
Bird on Limb, and
I'm so sorry, Bird on a Limb.
Yeah, it's about a young artist who finally has her first big exhibit, and the main artist featured in that exhibit has a piece of work assaulted at the opening, and that the assault of that piece is tied in with a crime that happened in the early 70s in South Carolina, a racially motivated crime. And the other thing I'm doing is I get the rights back to the orchid tattoo. So like Lynn was saying, I'm going to be having I'm going to be republishing the Orchid Tattoo, which is the first of the Georgia Thayer novels. So I'm working on that as well.
Excellent, excellent. Rae?
Book 7 of the Hollis Morgan comes out next spring. Looking forward to that.
Wonderful. Dorothy? I know you're in the middle of one right now.
Well, I'm working on a new series. It has the heroine is a vampire who was turned in the 80s, and she killed who turned her, so she knows no other vampires, and she's been on the search for other vampires and has turned into a sleuth because anytime there's a weird death, she's trying to figure it out.
Wow. Vinnie? And you've just had a new release.
It's so new. The e-version is out and the paperback should be here any day. So I need to draw a breath. I've started the next book in the Playa Maria group. It's called Dakota Descent, where a character goes to South Dakota. In the meantime, like you, Paul, I write short. So I have always more than one short story in progress.
Right. And Sally?
Well, I'm doing some genre jumping, and I am working on a Celtic fantasy. Not a mystery. There will be a lot of suspense in this book, but it's definitely not a mystery. But I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Well, it's just been a great pleasure to those of you that I know. It's a great pleasure to get to know more about you. And those of you I've had a wonderful opportunity to meet on this panel, it's been terrific, and I appreciate it so much. And Rick, I'm sorry I didn't get to that last question. I don't know if Karen is ready to sign off, or maybe she can advise.
Oh, I think we have just a couple minutes to address that question, Rick.
Oh, very good. What is the question?
The question is, when writing a character dialogue when English is not the character's native language, do you find it difficult to do without coming across as offensive towards a particular group of people?
I would say absolutely. It always fills me with trepidation. And yet I live in a community where we're going to encounter characters of all ethnicities and demographics. So I feel like I want authentic characters, and there may be a bit of accent or mannerisms that I want in the book, but I always try to be mindful. Usually they might be based on somebody I actually know. So anyway, yes, and carefully.
Yeah,
I
I
would
try
say
to use
that's a
native.
great way, a great use of a sensitivity reader.
Mhm.
Yeah, especially someone from that culture, because you really don't want to be offensive. You can, it can happen accidentally, you know, so.
Yeah, I try to use native speakers who, kind of as beta readers. If I've got a particular person or character in the book that English isn't their first language, so I try to run that by them to make sure I'm not getting anything wrong.
Thank you. Karen, do you want
Okay.
to sign us off at this point?
Yes, thank you. I put in the chat to all our 12 wonderful authors for participating. I hope the attendees had fun, and please buy their books. That's why we did this, so you could learn about them. So welcome, or thank you again for attending, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks,
Thank
Paula.
you, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
Penny.
you. Thanks to everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.